Hi, everyone. My name is Gary Gomes. I just turned 69, October 1st. So I am, by definition, a living fossil. And I'm here to welcome you to the astrology show. And hopefully I'll make it through another year. The it's essentially, I'm here to talk to you mainly about Vedic astrology and its principles. I just had a really interesting Mercury retrograde experience, which I will not share with you. But basically, hopefully, this show will go on a one shot because I like spontaneity, but I will be building my way up to new equipment and to new resources over the coming months. They're a couple of months away, but it is coming. Uh, I talk to you every week um, about uh, astrology. I'm going to talk to you a little bit about a concept which is kind of um, unusual in astrology, but they're called uh, karakas and arudas, and we're going to talk about that a little bit today in terms of the chart. I'm not going to throw too much new knowledge at you, but basically, um, also I did want to say give a shout out to my friends who wish me a happy birthday. I also want to say thank you to everyone who's been supporting the channel. Keep the membership going up, and I will repay you uh, many times over. We are going to start talking about remedial measures soon, not this week, but soon. And also, I think one of the things to keep in mind is we're about to enter a really interesting period over the next week or so. Uh, Saturn is going to start going direct around October 10th. Jupiter is going to go direct the following week, and Mercury is going to go direct the week after that. And that's going to be really a lot of projects that have been pent up or held back or delayed are going to start to take off quite aggressively. So I think you'll be pretty pleased by that. The other thing, when I was talking about these word concepts like karakas and arudas, um, I'm intending to try to expand your knowledge uh, of astrology, uh, not because you need to know that, but because there are certain other factors you can take into account when you're looking at an astrology chart or when you're looking at factors that are affecting your lives. And I think one of the ways to do that, one of the ways to look at that is to look at things that are um, kind of uh, unusual, and they can provide you with some good knowledge. Now, um, so I'm sharing the chart, and one of the first things I have to say is that Venus just changed signs. Okay, so a couple of days ago. So Venus changed signs on October 2nd. It moved from Libra into Scorpio. And that itself is a significant change. So relationships will tend to be a little bit detached, a little bit isolated, a little bit separative. And they'll be a little bit unexpected. You'll hear from people who you didn't know were interested in you or who wants to link up with you or help you in ways you had never thought. And also, relationship life will be a little bit stifled or stymied because Rahu is sitting in the seventh house. Jupiter's aspecting the seventh house, so it'll bring a lot of new relationship opportunities. And Jupiter's also aspecting Mars, so that's the spread of COVID. That's really what's responsible for the spread of COVID. When Jupiter changes signs, you'll see a little bit of a break. and you'll see this will be around November 17th. You'll see a lot of a break, and you'll also see increased health among the general population, which will continue really until the end, until around March of 2022. And I think we'll see a general end to the pandemic, at least in its more frightening form, around that time. The basic thing we have right here is, so I want to talk to you about karakas. So karakas are essentially, so there are things called karakawas, which are essentially fixed indicators. So the sun is a fixed indicator of the person's ego or themselves. The moon is a fixed indicator of mother. Okay. Mars is a fixed indicator of brother or courage. Mercury is a fixed indicator of intelligence. Let's see, and communication. Jupiter is the fixed indicator of wisdom. Venus is the fixed indicator of relationships. Let's see now, and Saturn is the fixed indicator of sorrow or responsibility. So these are what are called fixed. Rahu is the fixed indicator of dissatisfaction or novel experiences. Ketu is the fixed indicator of spirituality or unusual experiences or accidents. And these are oversimplifications, but that's one, so this gives you a clue into how I'm looking at certain things in the chart. Movable indicators are things that are, and this is, again, keep in mind, this is what's called a sidereal or a fixed zodiac. These are essentially connected with, fixed zodiacs are connected with the position of the stars against the backdrop of the fixed planets in the sky, or the fixed signs in the sky. So essentially, in Western astrology, the sun is already in Libra. In Vedic astrology, you'll see right here, this is Pisces, Aries, Taurus, Gemini, Cancer, Leo, Virgo, Libra, Scorpio, and Sagittarius, Capricorn, Aquarius, and back to Pisces. So the sun is in Virgo in this chart. So that's going to give a little bit of a challenge to people because we're so used to the sun being in Libra around this time of year, anyway, for Western astrology. But also this will change what's called the fixed karaka. So the indicator of the self in this chart is Mercury. So Mercury's at really high degree, it's retrograde. So a lot of people are going to feel kind of confused this week, or basically like they don't know which direction they're heading in. That's going to be true for the next couple of weeks, or they're going to have to repeat themselves a lot. Jupiter is a planet connected with career, and people will feel like they're stymied or kind of stuck in their career life because Jupiter's and it's an indicator of opportunity. So they'll feel like they don't have a lot of opportunities, even though there are a lot out there. Or they'll feel stuck or limited. The indicator of desires or ambitions is Mars, and Mars is in the 11th house connected with money and property. So a lot of people will feel connected very strongly with those things. The indicator of education is, or mother, is Sun, and that's fixed in the 11th house in Virgo. So people are going to feel very critical about themselves, about what they know and what they don't know. The indicator of children or creativity is going to be, I have to look at this carefully, is going to be Saturn. So people won't feel very creative. They'll feel like they have to do things according to a very strict regimen in order to get ahead. The indicator of enemies or relatives is Moon. So there'll be this perception that your friends really aren't your friends, or you'll have some hostile action with your friends during the next couple of days. And that's going. The moon changes indicators really quickly, so don't hate your friends. And the indicator of relationship life is Venus. So that's why I said some unusual relationship opportunities or some unexpected breakthroughs or psychic links with relationship partners. The major thing we use these things for is to figure out what's happening. So the sun's going to give gross generalizations about a chart, but the Jupiter-Saturn combination is going to give that feeling of stagnation in career. And if we have combinations like this, the entire chart's affected adversely. So basically, from the chart, you have Venus as Lord of the 12th house and the 7th house in the 1st house. So there's a strong connection with wanting to be in a relationship, but being a little bit uncertain about the relationship partner, being insecure about the relationship partner. And in terms of Mercury, there'll be bad communications or even fights with friends. I had an encounter with somebody the other day who was asking me about that. And that tends to be something that I've seen a lot. Mercury is one of the indicators for friendships, as I've seen it in charts through the years. And I think overall, when you're looking at these combinations, they'll give you the same kind of information, but from different perspectives. And essentially, the other thing to keep in mind is when you're looking at these charts, so the Lord of the 2nd house of money is in the 3rd house, so this is strong desire for money, but a worry that it'll be stolen from you by inflation. The 4th house Lord that's a worry about security. 5th house Lord is a worry about luck. 6th house Lord is a willingness to work because the Lord of the 6th house is in the 11th house. 7th house is, like I said, insecurity about relationships, or there's a feeling that you really want to be in a different relationship than the one you're in. This is just in general, or you're kind of stuck, basically. 8. Now this will change in around March. This will hang around for a few months, but it'll change in March. And also when Venus moves into Sagittarius in about a month, there won't be that kind of feeling. There'll be more of a philosophical, optimistic feel about relationships. 8th house has to do with problems or addictions. So again, you'll feel like friends are taking advantage of you. 9th house Lord is in the 10th house. Some desire for change in career, feeling that people don't like you in your job. 11th house Lord is Mercury. It's in the 11th house, so friends are still good friends, but they're acting a little funny and a little combative and a little bossy because they're conjunct Mars and Sun. 12th house Lord is Venus. Lord of the 12th house is in the 1st house. So again, this is strong desire to kind of like hide away. And that's what we said before. Also, while I have a chance, let me just break this interpretation just to say we are going to have, just to give you my background. I have been a working astrologer for over 30 years. I studied first of all with TM, then with K and Rao, then a lot of self-study. And I've been an astrology lecturer since 1993, 1996. 1993 was my first opportunity. 1996 was my first organizational opportunity. And I've been on astrology boards since 1997. And also, I've been president of the Council of Vedic Astrology, vice president of the Council of Vedic Astrology, and I'm currently on the Kepler board and currently on faculty. I've been on faculty at Kepler since 2007, more or less, and on faculty at the American College of Vedic Astrology since around 2002. I'm also an ersatz musician, and you're going to see some videos coming up on music, maybe politics, because I think, and my interest in politics is not so much to try to get people to agree with me, it's to try to get people to listen to each other, which I think has been lost over the past few years. So that's my pompous, swelling opinion anyway. I don't think people are really, I think people are sort of like ideologically dug in and they're not listening to each other. So I don't know if I can single-handedly bring about a change in that direction, but I'd like to. Also, we will be talking a lot about remedial measures, and we will be talking a lot about different types of astrology. I'm studying Brigu, a type of Brigu astrology lately, and hoping to lecture on that pretty soon. And I'm hoping to promote various conferences. I was just on a Saptarishi conference, which again was my Mercury retrograde experience. My presentation kind of hung together more loosely than I wanted it to. And it was just really, it was a Mercury retrograde experience. And, but I'll be talking to next weekend, September, on October 10th, and I'll also be talking at the Ashavadia curriculum in November or December. The date hasn't been finalized yet. And again, we are talking about starting up an astrology school, an international astrology school, and I love people to contact me about that. And I am accepting students and clients. And the more likes you can provide this page, the more people you can encourage to join, the more I'd appreciate it. And the more content I can give you, and the more times I can go on the air and present to you. So if you're interested in helping me out, or even if you're not interested in helping me out, I do classes with Dr. Simone and Elisa Donatella, Rebecca, and I'm planning on doing other classes with other people, even non-astrologers. I think I have kind of a unique perspective. I respect my gurus, but I also respect the intelligence of people to bring new knowledge to the fore. And so I'm hoping to essentially bring forward attention to the classics while allowing for innovation in astrology. So I think one of the things that I always like to remind people is that God gave us a brain too. And the guru can guide us, but ultimately we're responsible for ourselves. So the guru is always our support, but we're responsible for ourselves in the end. And so that means paying attention to the guru, but also thinking for yourself. So I think that given those parameters, we can have, we're experiencing a rebirth and interest in astrology, both Western and Eastern right now. And they're discovering a lot of old books and a lot of old teachings that have been lost through the years. But we can make it so much richer by looking at these things and saying, let's do research. Let's see if these principles work in fact. And let's see how they actually apply to charts in actual practice. So we can, so the old books, the knowledge in the old books is wonderful, is dramatic, it's telling, but there are remedial measures out there by the boatload that some people are afraid to investigate. Some people are more than willing to investigate, and that's their choice. But I want to investigate as many as I can. And the other thing is, as we get older, hopefully we get wiser, so we'll figure out what things we should touch and which things we should leave alone. And that's part of the learning process. Okay, so let's get back to the chart interpretation. So let's get onto the world chart. So what can we expect from this chart? Well, a lot of crankiness about relationships, a lot of anger at governments just in general, okay, because the Sun, Mars, Mercury conjunction, and their general perception the governments are lying to us pretty much all over the world, not just here in the United States. and also a desire to change, a desire to bring in a new order, whether it be a conservative order or a liberal order or a socialist order. There's just a desire to change. So this direction hasn't been picked yet, to be honest. So if we have, we have some people who are very angry about what they perceive as socialism coming into various countries. There are other people angry at what they see as being unbridled capitalism or greed taking over the planet. There are other people angry at what they see as being a decline in morals or rectitude, and those things they're symptomatic, not of an absolute truth, but of a perspectual truth. Okay, so essentially in this world, I will go so far as to say this: there is no such thing except for perhaps the environment that we're in, except for perhaps the fact that I'm in this particular chair, sitting at this particular time, in this particular place. There is no concrete objective reality. That's a spiritual realm. At least that's what I was taught. So a lot of the things that we're getting upset about are perspectual things. And so that doesn't mean science is bunk. That doesn't mean religion is bunk. That doesn't mean that ethics or morals are bunk. But there's always a shift in perception. And it's always good to remember that what you're looking at through your lenses, through your experiences, through your chart. You're not looking at objective reality. There's a story I always like to remember of of a teacher being asked by a student to show him Maya, and the student says, please, could you show me what illusion? So Maya is essentially illusion, or it's the world as we know it. And the teacher touches him, and he becomes a woman, gives birth to children, sees the children grow up, and lives an entire lifetime, and it feels real. He comes back to the teacher, and the teacher looks at him and says, that's Maya. So these lives we're living, it's not that they're not significant. They're significant. And it's not that the planet is not significant. It's very significant. So essentially what we have to do is we have to conduct ourselves in a way which is respectful of ourselves and the planet and each other. And when I say respectful, that means from all dimensions, not just from one political perspective or another. Okay, so that's sort of the bias that I have. That's my lens. So let's look at the world map. I hope I haven't upset anybody by saying that. But every perspective is at some point, at some level, every perspective is true. Doesn't mean all perspectives are equally true, but at some level, every perspective is true. Okay, so, but also every perspective is Maya. Okay, so, all right, enough pontificating. All right, so these lines are locality lines. Astrocartography is a copyrighted term. It's owned by people I actually know, but I don't feel comfortable using that. So where are we going to see disturbances this coming week? So Saturn's off the coast of Alaska. Some disturbances in the Pacific Ocean, but probably more like a dead calm. We have had some continuing fires and blazes, but a lot of those look like they're going to pass this coming 2 weeks in California. There's a descending Jupiter line, but again, what I would say for this is there's a lot of upset right now in Arizona over the election recount or the election audit, excuse me. I think you're going to see that have some court action over the next couple of months. And that indicates what's happening here. The truth will come out about that after November 17th. It's not really something that I'm even prepared to discuss right now. You have a Saturn line, you have a Venus line going close to a Jupiter line, a descending Jupiter line, passing through northern Texas into Nebraska, and I think that's Nebraska, and up into Montana, and that's going to give some flooding or some water damage in that part of the world. The moon and Rahu are pretty much conjunct in South America, or excuse me, in Mexico. My apologies, that's not South America. And so there'll be some problems with the government down in that part of the country, about in that part of the world, excuse me. And also there'll be some political upset in Wisconsin, all the way down to Louisiana and Texas. Interestingly enough, and you will see some border problems in southern Texas. So there are a lot of border problems in this general area in Mexico. Okay, so there's going to be a lot of overflow into Texas, Louisiana. Basically, Hawaii looks pretty free. They don't look like they have problems right now. There was a volcano that was erupting, but it looks like it will calm down. Sun and Mars are passing through Brazil, and I was reading recently that Brazil's having a lot of problems, especially in the central part of the country. So there's a lot of uncomfortableness with the government, and Mercury's passing through the north over here through Iceland, so there'll be some communications issues with the government in Brazil and down to the Falklands. Ireland through England and through France and Spain, more problems with COVID, and that's mainly because of the moon. There'll be a lot of internal arguments, and especially in Western Africa as well, some worries. This Venus line through Gabon isn't going to help very much. This line right here is an ascending Venus line going through Algeria, Italy, pretty much through Poland, and up close to Finland. So there's some flooding or heavy rain possibility around that area. And that's true also of Italy and all the way through Eastern Europe. This spot right here, this is Turkey. Turkey has a Sun-Mars conjunction, so there'll be some fighting in the western part of Turkey, some communications issues in Iran and Saudi Arabia, also some possible fighting in the Sudan. A lot of communications issues throughout Eastern Europe, though into Russia. And Saturn and Venus will give disease outbreaks in northern India. Okay. Jupiter and Venus are conjuncting down here, but they're not really functioning well together. And Jupiter and Rahu, so there'll be kind of a disease panic in Bengal. Also, China is afflicted as well. A lot of communications issues, a lot of distribution problems coming out of China lately, and that's not going to really let up until around late October. And China is also having some arguments with the Philippines and with Japan and with Taiwan. And it's the first time, I think, Myanmar is going to have some more political trouble too. Also, Australia still is getting slammed by bad disease news and by poor communications. And Jupiter is hitting New Zealand, so New Zealand will probably shut down a little bit as well. So a lot of these are temporary situations. You're going to see a lot of changes over the next couple of weeks, especially as Saturn goes direct. Now, when Saturn goes direct on the 10th, I'm not expecting a lot of happy events around that time. And the main reason for that is because Saturn going direct essentially makes bills come due. So essentially what I'm expecting to see in especially in the Saturn lines is certainly in China some problems within the government and some accountability they'll be held to. In the United States, there'll be some problems in Texas and going north to Montana with the government, and also in Mexico, and and in, see where else I can see Saturn lines, and also in India, near Delhi and north. Now, on the good side of things, when Jupiter goes direct around October 17th, a lot of people will feel more optimistic. There's been a stock market decline, as people have seen over the past week or so. The stock market is generally doing good, but there's been a stock market decline. And Jupiter turning direct around the 17th or around the week before the 17th will tend to make things go a little bit better. Also, supply chains will start to free up a little bit around that time, and definitely around the 17th and 18th because of Mercury going direct. That could abate inflation, but from looking at the US map, I think we're going to be stuck in an inflationary cycle for about another year. And it's really because of supply chain issues connected with COVID. So there's nothing really much you can do about that. Talking about but the country I'm really worried about right now is Brazil down to Argentina, down to Uruguay and Paraguay, because that's really kind of a disruptive combination for the government. And I'm wondering if we're going to see attempts of military coups or things like that in South America. This sounds like a flashback to the 60s, where there was a military coup occurring in Brazil, it seemed like every 6 months. But I'm wondering whether or not there's going to be some kind of military action or some kind of civilian suppression. And I'm also worried about that in the central United States, and a lot of frustration, especially in eastern Texas, Oklahoma, and up to Wisconsin. So these parts kind of concern me because it's between Rahu and Saturn. They're not really friendly planets. They're not really nice planets, and they can cause panic and fear and even loss of life. So it's just let's just be careful over the next couple of weeks. But all these retrogrades kind of ease themselves out a little bit. On the positive side, and on the positive side, yes,
Gary,
yes.
it's Anita, honey.
Okay, Anita.
All right, now listen to me. Listen to me.
My apologies. That was a family emergency, so I had to go and take it. And again, I need to get editing software, so I apologize to you. So look for political crises in a lot of Sun-Mars combinations, or at least some kind of political violence. And I hope it's not natural catastrophes, because that would be awful, but political violence is also awful. But again, it looks like there's a lot of panic in between Ireland and the UK, and also in Spain again, unfortunately, and in Western France. So, but I want people to keep something in perspective. Even in the worst of times, there are good things happening around you. There are people who are helping. There are people who are providing unexpected good things for you. There are really, really extraordinarily good people in the world. So I think that's something to hang on to. And that's something, and this won't last forever. These retrogrades have been really, really, really bad for people's spirits, because some people are naturally optimistic, other people are naturally pessimistic, and the people who are naturally pessimistic are going to feel kind of negative about what's happening. The people who are naturally optimistic can sort of like blow it off and say, well, it'll get better. But I do think you are going to see governmental problems in Eastern Europe, Turkey, down through the Sudan, down through Mozambique and Angola, and also even in China, for that matter. China in particular, has looked really volatile to me over the past few months. So it's really, and that could be the fact that they're dealing with the with COVID outbreaks. I don't put that outside of perspective, but it looks like there's some pretty fundamental flaws developing in the system they have over there. So it doesn't mean they're going to get overthrown. Somebody's going to overthrow the Chinese government. That's not what I'm saying. But basically, I think we can expect to see some political violence. But again, not wishing that on anybody, along these lines, these three lines. These lines, central United States, Brazil, Argentina, England, France, Spain, through Western Africa, Eastern Europe through Turkey and Egypt and Saudi Arabia, and over here in China and the Philippines, and through Indonesia and Western Australia are problematic. They're really, really difficult, and they look political to me. So let's go back and see what the week involves for you. So the major thing to keep in mind is because of this particular Jupiter-Saturn conjunction and the retrogrades, a lot of action seems to be not happening, or a lot of things need to be done over again, as my friend Lolita Donatella Rebecca said. But basically, you do have some interesting developments with that Venus going into Scorpio, which is kind of I mean, Venus in Libra is really nice. It's really friendly. Venus in Scorpio is passion. So you'll see a lot of people feeling really passionate about things, or really upset easily about things, really pessimistic about certain things. And they're going to be worried about their relationship partner, pretty strongly. But basically, if we're looking at the chart, and I'm probably going to do this will probably be a little bit shorter than regular broadcasts, but I'm trying to gauge time I've lost. Aries is going to experience, again, some financial gains, but again, some difficulty in maintaining financial gains. Some good luck though financially. I mean, they really are going to have a good week in terms of increasing status and improving status. Mercury's in the 6th house with Mars and the Sun, and I think from this combination, you can see a lot of stress in work, a lot of worry that workers are lying to you or undercutting you, and that's going to be true for a lot of people. The 8th house has Venus in it. If Venus is in the 8th house, there's some worry that relationship partners are being disloyal or dishonest, or business partners, not necessarily relationship partners, but business partners. 9th house Lord is in the 10th house, good for career life generally, and good for gains, but it'll feel like like you're stuck. And good looking in the 12th house will be finances because of financial pressure because of illnesses. For Taurus rising, or Taurus sun or Taurus moon, Rahu still sits in that 1st house in Kritika Nakshatra. Kritika is kind of a difficult nakshatra. It makes us really, really upset with ourselves, or aggravated, or easily perturbed. And dissatisfied with everybody around us. Ketu's in the 7th house along with Venus, so relationship partners will seem to be more helpful. Mercury's in the ruler of the 2nd house, but it does indicate there's a fear that people who you trusted are lying to you, although there will be financial gains. And at least from this chart, the moon is in the 4th house, so that's actually good for financial growth. Venus in the 7th, unexpected relationship opportunities or relationship partners. That's really one of the indications of this particular combination. And 8th house Lord in the 9th house, good financial gains, good career gains overall for the sign. But again, like I said, a feeling that it's not quite enough. And the 12th house Lord being in the 5th house, some worry that people are stealing from you. For Mercury or Gemini rising, Mercury and Mars are in the 4th house, indicates some problems in communications, especially with people in authority. And there's some indication that people who may be misrepresenting themselves, people in your family may be lying to you, or not telling you the absolute truth. 2nd house Lord is in the 3rd house, so there's a strong desire for financial gains and financial improvement. Mercury in the 4th house is actually good for career life because it aspects the 10th house, so you'll have a lot of career gains. Venus as Lord of the 5th house, and the 6th house can give some illnesses or health problems to children, or children will seem to be moody or difficult to understand. Seventh house Lord in the eighth house, relationship life will be okay, but it'll still seem kind of stymied or not really fortunate. So there's a strong desire to really get a commitment, and people are still kind of not ready to go that extra step. And the eighth house has Jupiter and Saturn in it as Lord of the ninth and 10th. So career life is good, but there's a lot of research, a lot of effort that has to go into it. 11th house Lord is good for financial gains, and 12th house has a lot of expenses. For Cancer, the Lord of Cancer is in the second house, so it's good for your financial gains. This sign will be very ambitious. It'll even lie to get ahead this month. But relationship life, again, will still be kind of stagnant. It'll still be sort of like not really where you want it to be. The fourth house Lord is the second house. So the fourth house Lord is Venus in the fifth house. So like I said, unexpected love affairs or unexpected relationship opportunities, maybe even accidental relationship opportunities. Fifth house Lord, I'm sorry, 1, 2, 3, 4, fifth house. Sixth house Lord is Jupiter, Lord of the sixes in the seventh house. So there'll be fights or arguments with relationship partners, and relationship partners will seem very reticent. So these three signs, essentially, Taurus, Gemini, and Cancer will have relationship difficulties the next few weeks, at least until October 17th, and probably until November 17th. And 1, 2, 3, 4, 6. The eighth house has no planets in it, but the Lord of the eighth house is in the seventh house. So again, this can indicate relationship partners having hidden problems. Ninth house Lord is placed in the seventh house, so luck will generally be good, but slow. And finally, 10th house Lord looks good. Career life looks good, but again, there'll be a little bit of temptation to lie, and some career opportunities will be stolen from you. And Rahu will be in the 11th house, so you shouldn't trust your friends this month. For Leo has the moon in it, so this will give a lot of expenses to people. And let me see. And see now. Fix this. Sorry about that. And so Leo has Mars. Well, Leo will do anything to get ahead this month, but it'll backfire on them a little bit. They should wait until the 17th before they start to tell people, to try to convince people what they're doing is right. Venus is with K2 in the fourth house. So again, a lot of emphasis on speech, a lot of emphasis on on feelings, but again, they'll be frustrated in terms of their feelings being expressed. Fifth house Lord is Jupiter, placed in the sixth. So again, some problems with relationship life for this sign as well. The sixth, seventh, and eighth houses are afflicted. So again, so this entire cluster of signs from roughly from Taurus down to Leo is going to have kind of a difficult time of it. And essentially, career-wise, they'll do extremely well. They'll get a lot of fame or recognition, but a little bit of difficulty in relationship matters. For Virgo, Virgo is going to have to be careful not to overplay its luck because Mars Mercury conjunction there can render susceptible to lies or people telling or doing anything to get what it wants. The Lord of the second house is in the third house. They'll be able to achieve unexpectedly some gains, and the fourth Lord in the fifth house gives some problems with children and some problems with relationship life, but not as bad as the other signs. And Rahu is in the ninth house, so it'll actually receive some international fame and recognition. Moon in the 12th does indicate, though, it'll be kind of expensive here. Libra's in the first Lord is, if Libra's the first Lord, the Lord of the first Lord is in the second house, so Venus with K2 will give unusual aspirations or unusual love interests, unusual financial gains, unexpected financial gains, and also unexpected debts because of the eighth house hitting that sign. The third house Lord goes into the fourth house. That's a good combination. That gives increased ability to learn and improve. And the fifth house Lord is placed in the third house, so that should give increased financial success. Seventh house Lord is placed in the 12th house, so this sign has to be careful about relationship matters. It has to be careful about being attracted too strongly sexually attracted to people who are either younger or aren't trustworthy. And Rahu is in the eighth house, so there's a strong desire for financial gains or financial improvement. In terms of learning opportunities, there's a good chance that they'll try to learn knowledge which is not really fully valid or is based upon misrepresentation. And Moon is in the 12th, is in the 11th house, so there'll be financial gains and career gains. Scorpio has Venus and K2 in the first house, so this gives good relationship opportunity, although they'll cause some expenses. Sagittarius, Lord Jupiter is in the third house, so it's going to give some good financial gains and some improved financial gains. And overall from the chart, Rahu sits, so home life should be relatively good for Scorpio. Relationship life should be a little bit strenuous or a little bit difficult because of the Rahu in this house, causing a lot of greed on relationship partners, but there will be career recognition, and there will also be financial gain through work. For Sagittarius, Jupiter and Saturn sit in the second house. That's generally a good placement. And basically it'll give good financial gains, but again, delays in terms of getting money which is owed you at least for another couple of weeks, and delays in fulfillment of ambitions or desires at least for another couple of weeks. Rahu in the sixth house, they have to be really careful about health matters, and there are signs that this sign is a little bit down or depressed because of health issues, or because of other disappointments in life. Moon is in the ninth house, but it's a waning moon, so this isn't particularly auspicious for them. And they'll feel like they have a lot of pressure on them, a lot of anxiety connected because of Mars aspecting the first house. but they're kind of lying to themselves. They're upsetting their relationship partners a lot. Venus and Ketu are in the 12th house. This can give some problems with lungs or with health issues. But basically, from this, so this can give fluid buildup because of being in the 12th house. But basically, if this sign just hangs in there for a couple of weeks, things will get a lot better. For Aquarius will have a lot of relationship opportunities, but again, they have to be careful about who they get attracted to, because there's a sign they're getting attracted to the wrong kind of people. And their confidence is a little bit low as well because of Jupiter-Saturn conjunction. Venus is in the 10th house, so it's good for career life. There will be some recognition in career matters. And also, Rahu is in the 4th house, so there's going to be some delays in home life, but there'll be a lot of improvement in home matters because of Venus aspecting Rahu. So at least from the chart, the only thing I really ask Aquarius to watch out for is these planets in the 8th house and the 12th house, which can lead to deception in relationships and also financial problems. For Pisces, Rahu's in the 3rd. That's good for courage. Moon is in the 6th. That gives some problems with children. Mars, Mercury, and Sun are in the 7th house, so relationship problems are kind of rife. There's only about 3 signs that don't have relationship problems this month. So again, lying or relationship partners being dishonest. And Venus is in the 9th house, so that's good. That gives increased financial luck. And Jupiter and Saturn are in the 11th house. Good for financial gains. So that's it for this week. I'm not sure how the time is working out. I may have to chop some stuff off on here, or I may have to add a little bit towards the end. We'll see what happens. But that's it for me. Thank you again for watching. Sorry for the interruptions. It's been a Mercury retrograde kind of a day, 3 retrogrades, 3 big retrogrades. And that's it for me. Have a great week. And I look forward to seeing you again really soon. And we're going to have other sites up. And that's all I have to say. Namaste. Please join. Please help out by joining, sharing. I can be reached at 508-525-0001 or online at neivas@comcast.net. Thanks again for watching. Bye-bye. And namaste.